So you're at the point of being open to a partnership conversation. Let's talk about the three dominant reasons that drive smaller wealth management practices to transact with larger ones. So considering what we would call a partnership opportunity, which is somewhat code for acquisition, there are three dominant reasons or groups of reasons that we see motivate most smaller practices to join the larger organization. Understanding how you weight these individual areas is critical to selecting the right partner. And it's perfectly normal if you're a multi-partner practice that each partner may have a different perspective given where they are in their life. But let's unpack each one. So the first group of reasons is what we would describe as monetary in nature. And so it's the financial aspect of the transaction. And the first really main area would be, we call it chips off the table. You've built an asset that has real value, and you're at a point in your life where you want to de-risk that asset and take some cash out of the business. So that's quite normal, and obviously if you're selling your business, you're going to receive some portion of that in a cash transaction, and so you're de-risking the asset. So that's chips off the table. The next would be solving the succession issue. We put succession in the monetary reasons because it does have a financial impact. And there are two common scenarios here. The first would be you don't have the younger talent on the team that would ultimately write the check and take over and run the business. So clearly that's a succession issue. Secondly, you might, and more commonly I might add, you might have the people on the team, but you haven't figured out the legal or financial pathway to handle the equity transfer. And so in either case, you have the succession issue. Transacting with another firm solves that. Thirdly would be an expanded economic opportunity. And this comes in two main areas. The first would be your ability to generate current income. And so the plan in joining a larger organization is whatever your income growth opportunity looks like today, as a part of their team, you would see an expansion of that or an acceleration of your ability to generate current income. Next would be on the equity side. So there'll be a valuation on your business, there'll be a number, and the buyer will typically offer you the ability to roll a portion of that into their equity. Obviously, that requires a lot of due diligence on your part. You have to feel good about their equity. But the basic bet is their stock is going to appreciate at a much faster clip than yours is. You've all read the headlines and seen the news of the last few years about some of the really successful acquirers out there and what's happened as they've grown. The earnings are not only growing rapidly, but the multiples being applied to their earnings are really accelerating. And so that's the essential bet that you're making. So those are the monetary drivers. And I would tell you, it's got to be a market transaction. For most people, the monetary drivers aren't the most significant reason. But obviously, it's important. You don't want to sell your business for anything less than what it's worth. The second most common reason that firms transact, and I think probably the most important, and the ones that people place the most weight in, is in quality of life. And in here, there's a lot of stuff, so let's unpack it. So the first would be removal of operational burden from your plate. So small business owners, there are things that you have to do in your business that you probably don't enjoy. They certainly don't move the needle for growth, but in our business, we have to do them. So the larger entity that's acquiring your practice is going to centralize these functions and thereby give you a lot of capacity back in your day. So it's the usual suspects: compliance, accounting functions like accounts payable, accounts receivable, billing, payroll, technology management, HR functions. All of these things get centralized. You'll still have to participate in a smaller way in all those areas, but the heavy lifting comes off your plate. So that's a major benefit to joining a larger firm. Next would be what we call practice management, and that's simply helping define roles and responsibilities at the local level, who does what and on what day. It is taking the rainmakers and getting them out of non-rainmaking functions. And then it's turning generalists, because in most smaller firms, you have employees, they may have an official title, but they have their hands in a little bit of everything. It's turning those generalists into more niche specialists. And as they do that, they get way more efficient at their job. So most larger firms, recognizing that that's a major win for them to partner with a firm and help make that office more efficient, they typically have internal practice management teams that will come alongside you. It's not done in a dictatorial, mandatory type fashion, but they know that, and this is true, I think, most business owners are great entrepreneurs. They're charismatic, they love their team, but they may not be the best at managing the team or managing process. And so they have that competence, which overall makes your life better and improves the overall economic performance and service deliverable to the clients. I would also add access to expertise in this quality of life area. And this comes in the form of people. Most larger firms are going to have a central team that has the ability to support you centrally. So this is always the chicken or the egg with small business owners is, when do we hire people? Do you hire them ahead of revenue materializing? In doing so, you're depressing your profitability in the short run. Or do you try to maximize your profitability, but in doing so, perhaps the service standards suffer, maybe you're working too much? So access to central team members that play the role of client service, perhaps paraplanning, relationship manager, sales assistant, essentially all the non-client facing functions. Your new partner has those in spades, and so you can access those and those new resources. So this all goes in the quality of life, and I would tell you, I find this is easily probably the most common reason why firms seek a partnership. The third area would be organic growth. And so the reality is most smaller firms are typically referral driven. And while we love referrals, we want to keep that going. It's not as consistent or as predictable as we might like. So most larger firms are going to have an organic growth strategy or strategies that they can implement in your local office. Typically, they don't mandate this. There's no growth hurdles that you have to hit, certainly nothing punitive if you don't implement these strategies, but they would like to have some kind of niche marketing strategy identified and being implemented. It always depends on your talent, your geographic region, what you want to do, of course, your desire to grow otherwise, but you should look for a partner that has the ability to come alongside you. Of course, they're clearing the decks operationally, adding that practice management expertise, and then new resources. Now it's all about how can we grow. Keep in mind, when they say growth, they're not talking, often when we talk about growth, firms get concerned that they are going to be forced to grow or be turned into a sales organization. That's not what the buyer is looking for at all. When they say growth, they mean growth in their world. Growth where you have been taken out of all the operational burden, growth while you're being supported by their internal teams that are central. And so you have a lot more support and capacity to grow. So don't be afraid when a firm is articulating a desire to grow. So those would be the three most dominant reasons. I could add being a part of a larger team is often really neat when you have partners around the country who are not only awesome people, but perhaps have expertise that you don't. They can collaborate with you to solve complex problems for clients, not only at the partner level, but all the way down to the staff level as well. So that doesn't get talked about enough. I know as a lot of entrepreneurs feel like lone wolves out there, being a part of a larger organization is often a potential benefit that they don't really consider. So anyway, that's my explanation of what drives most partnerships. Hope you got a lot out of it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Looking forward to having the conversation with you. I'm Alan Darby, CEO of Alaris Acquisitions. I'm looking forward to meeting you soon.